Hello, welcome to my channel. I'm Susan Lynn. I'm a psychic and a medium. Today, I've got a really special treat for us. One of my favorite astrologers is here. We have Karin with Little Blue Lotus Astrology. You can find her on YouTube at Little Blue Lotus Astrology, but you can also find her on the web at littlebluelotus.org. I'll put all her information in the description below. She is amazing. I've had readings with her, and let me just say 2025. Well, we're in the beginning of 2025, so now's a good time to get a reading. You can figure out what the year has in store for you. And as you're going to see in this video, if you're not familiar with her, she speaks human. She doesn't speak astrology. So she just takes these very complex systems and important information and makes it usable for you in your everyday life. But today we're going to talk about politics because, well, Trump has a really bad chart. I think I've been waiting for this, right? Like the astrologers have been talking about how bad his chart is in the spring. And I'm like, I could hardly wait for the spring for this to happen.
We're holding
And
our breath. Yeah.
we're all holding our breath. And then number two, the United States, as is all of us, going through some really big changes this year that I think are unique to this year. Like, I don't think we normally go through these astrological changes. I think this is sort of like a new thing for us. So Karen's going to help us understand that. And with that, thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, it's always great to be here, Susan. Thanks for having me. Thanks for
Welcome.
having
You're
me.
welcome. So let's talk about it. What do we got? What do we got coming?
Okay, well, one of the things that's so different about 2025 is that we've got four of the major big planets, the outer planets, which are called like the cultural shifts, the society shifts. All four of them are changing signs this year. I don't know when that's ever happened. It may be somewhere back in our dim, distant past, but it hasn't happened for a very long time. So I think that's indicative of the fact that we are ascending. New Age music, harp music in the background. Well, we are ascending. The Earth is ascending, and we're running out of time. It's the time is now. We've gone through all these different stages, and now it's like, okay, we're being pushed. Either get with the program or sayonara. And that's one of the things that's happening. Even the nodes are changing signs. The moon's nodes are changing signs this year. So a lot of shifts happening, a lot to try to digest and be ready for. So I'll give you just some highlights because otherwise we could be here all afternoon. But that would be real easy to be here all afternoon. But yeah, there's a lot of things going on, and they're big, important things. So they're important for us individually, as well as the culture that we're in, as well as the country that we're in, as well as globally. It's a big deal. Very big
Wow,
deal.
I've never heard of them as cultural planets. That's
Mhm.
fascinating to me that they would actually, well, I guess Pluto and Aquarius is cultural. It's going to change a big part of how humans interact with
Mhm.
the paradigm, with with the authorities and different things like that. So I guess it makes
Sure,
sense. So
sure.
so tell us more.
Okay, well, first off, the nodes are changing signs. So they've been in Libra and Aries for a couple of years, and they're going to be moving back into Pisces and Virgo. And one of the things that you've talked about and that we've all seen is that the nodes have a lot to do with our past patterns that hold us back, and the North Node has to do with what we're reaching toward, what our evolution is moving toward. So in the North Node in Aries and the South Node in Libra, where it's been the last couple of years, North Node in Aries is how can we be assertive? How can we be an individual in a balanced way?
That's
Aries in
where
the
we've been.
unbalanced way is
That's where we've been, and that's what we've been trying to learn. That
right,
isn't this stuff is not like wave a magic wand, you're going to be this. It's actually helping you understand this is kind of the energy that you're working in, or what you were trying to learn. And in this case, we were trying to learn how to stand up to the bully, right? We had
right,
the Aries energy. They
right.
gave us the energy, but we didn't quite get there. So that's in the past. Now
Mhm.
we're moving into a new North node, which is what we're striving for, which is what?
It's going into Pisces. And so
Going into Pisces.
well, let me double
So,
check. It's going backwards. It's like, okay, we're giving you another chance to find your soul path. Virgo Pisces axis is being too
right.
critical, too limiting, which is the
Virgo.
lower vibration for Virgo, and Pisces is more all-encompassing and understanding and compassionate. So it's like, okay, find your soul path now. You've been learning how to stand up to the bully. You've been learning that being too nice doesn't work. The lower form of Libra is peace at any price. So you're
Oh
the
my God,
doormat.
peace at any price. This is where we've been. This is what
Yeah.
Biden did, basically, right? Okay, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, that's, well, that boiling pot and him sitting on the lid,
I know.
peace at any price. So, that was his decision to try to keep things all together. But so now it's back into Pisces and Virgo, and it's more like, okay, the outside world is going to be pretty chaotic. How do we keep our balance? How do we figure out where we stand in that whole arc of the process of evolution? And, as the United States is going through their stuff, and your town may be going through their stuff, your job might be going through their stuff. How do you find your North Star? How do you find where you belong?
And the North Star right now, because we're just talking about the nodes, and the North Star, the node, is in Pisces. So give us what are some keyword? Like, I don't really think I understand the sign of Pisces that
Okay.
much.
Okay. It's compassionate. I think
Okay.
the shift with the nodes happens late January, early February. So
Okay.
we're still in Aries Libra, but it's coming up. And so Pisces is compassionate, Pisces is healing, Pisces is sensitivity, Pisces is seeing the big picture, the whole big picture, and finding your place in that big picture.
Hmm.
It's inspirational. It's very inspiring. It's very artistic. It's very musical. And it's very devotional. It's like the connection between you and the supreme being or the creator or however you name that.
Is it very psychic, very intuitive?
It's very intuitive. It's very psychic. Yes. So it's the movement from the Virgo, which is very critical and loving its systems. It feels safe with its systems in place, to going, you know what? Maybe I need to let go of the systems to grow.
Oh my God.
And I have to listen to my inner voice, which is the Pisces. What is my inner voice telling me? What are my
Oh my
guides
God.
telling me? And I think you've been talking about
That's
that.
exactly what they just said this morning. So the systems, what are they, the institutions,
Hmm.
and there's also other astrology about this too, but you would know that I don't know about dissolving. The institutions
Yes.
have to dissolve. And
Hmm.
that's also like, if you want to take the opposites of Virgo and Pisces, this is what
Hmm.
you're talking about. Virgo is like, we need our systems. We must be accountable. Everything has to be accountable and counted for. And Pisces is like watery, like,
Yeah.
well, maybe not,
Yeah.
well,
That's really not important.
dreamy, right?
Yeah.
So we're coming from at the end of January, but this is for how long?
Oh, the next couple of years.
So we're coming from that. We're at the end of January. How that looks is, think about an anchor that's holding us back. It's
Hmm.
dragging us, right? It's like our boat is going through the water in Pisces, but
Hmm.
somebody put the anchor out and they don't know
Right.
that the anchor's out. And the anchor's dragging us, going, no, you come back. You got to do
Yeah.
this. You
Yeah.
got to put this in order. And Pisces is like, no, I don't. So as humanity, this is all a humanity, not United States,
Right.
all of humanity is going to want to be watery, to want to be expansive and
Hmm.
dreamy. That's where we're going. We don't,
Hmm.
I think the message is we don't need it. You know what?
Right.
We
We
don't
don't
really
need it.
need all those rules. We don't really need all of that systematic institutions. We'll figure it out on our own. But that's very, I
Well,
mean, that can be very destabilizing.
It can be, but what I heard in my head as you were talking was that children's song, Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. And so I think the message, what my guides were just saying, was that the message for Pisces North Node is keep rowing your boat. Don't
Oh,
let what's
wow.
going on around you stop you. Keep rowing your boat.
And don't worry about the ship behind you or the river. Row your boat.
Mm-hmm.
Individualism
Right, right.
over the system, which is controlling.
Mm-hmm. And safe, it feels safe. It's
It
familiar.
feels safe. I mean, I don't know how I'm a Virgo, so I don't know how
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to feel
Mm-hmm.
embracing this watery environment of, I mean, I have water in my chart, but this is different. It just feels, I think it's going to feel unmoored,
Mm-hmm.
ungrounded. And that, but that's where we're going.
Right.
That's the prize anyway. The prize
Yeah.
is to rely less on the systems, rely less on the totalitarian or the dictator,
Mm-hmm.
energy. You
Mm-hmm.
don't need that.
Right.
Virgo says you need that. You don't need that. You're safe on your own, rowing your own boat going forward. That's the message, right?
Right. I think so. I think so. Yeah. Yeah.
Trust yourself, trust your instincts, trust your intuition.
Right. Well, and then the Neptune rules Pisces, and the planet Neptune is changing signs as well. It's been in Pisces, I think, since 2011. It
And we
takes
can talk
about
about that for just a second
okay.
Because Neptune in Pisces, I don't want to throw blame, but I am a Virgo.
Yeah.
But Neptune in Pisces is like, I think the reason why we're all like, we don't see anything, we don't know anything, everything is gauzy, and I don't really see any details. Isn't that some of the reason why we've sort of been in this daze?
Absolutely. That's what you and I talked about the last time I was on your show in November, that I think that's one of the reasons why the election went the way it did. The Neptune rules lies and deceptions. There couldn't have been any more lies and deceptions. I mean,
And
we thought we'd seen
Pisces
it all
is
in 2016, but no, this
dreamy and watery and and
yeah.
and and boundless. There's no boundaries,
No,
right?
and it
So,
it rules lies, it rules fraud, it rules deceptions. It rules fuzzy, blurry boundaries. And it was in the last it's been in the last few degrees of Pisces. So what that means is that when you've got a planet who's already in its home sign, because it rules Pisces, which means it's very strong in Pisces, like a baseball team playing in its hometown, they're much more strong, they're stronger, they're more confident. That's how the planets are if they're in their own sign. So Neptune has been in Pisces. It's been very strong. And so we've had the low Pisces, the low Neptune of the fraud, the deception, the QAnon conspiracies, the bots, targeting people. This was all Neptune stuff. Neptune was just, yay, I'm winning here. And so that's exactly what happened. And we were definitely not, a lot of us were not paying attention. We were
or not
lost in
able
that, we
to.
were
We just,
lost.
yeah, we weren't aided. It was more like if you're lazy, you're just gonna fall into that. So where is it going now? So where is
It's going to be
Neptune?
going, it's ending a huge cycle, because I think, the last time it was in Pisces was, I'm sorry, in Aries. It's moving into Aries. The last time it was in
Oh
Aries
my
was
God.
during World War II. So, so now we've got the Neptune, which does not comfortable in Aries energy at all. It kind of blurs things, and Aries is just like very sharp and decisive, and hey, you see what you get what you see kind of thing with Aries. And Neptune is like, no. So it's going to be an interesting thing to watch how those two energies blend. One of the things I think could happen at the high level of Aries and Neptune. Aries is the white knight on the charger. Aries is I'm going to right all the wrongs, one of King Arthur's knights, right over might. and Neptune is very inspirational. And so you put those two energies together in their highest form, and you get people that are like, we're going to fix this. We're going to fix homelessness. We're going to fix health inequality. We're going to fix all these things. And so they charge ahead with that inspirational, all-inclusive energy of the Aries white knight. So that could happen. But the other
But
thing
that's but that's the high. So we
that's
have
the
the
high.
low.
That's
What's
the
in the
high.
middle? I just don't have a lot of hope that we're going to be like hitting the
No,
high.
I know. What's in the middle?
But I mean, we could, but it could happen. Like it doesn't have to be
Mhm.
all. It can be like we hit a high note, we hit a low note. We can do.
Right.
So what's like a middle ground for that
Well, I think a middle
sign?
ground would be, I think things will change in the art world, in music and in film. Neptune rules film, Neptune rules
Yes,
art. And so Aries
photography. Yeah.
might be, it might be more aggressive, it might be more assertive, it might be more, I'm hoping it's not propaganda. We've seen a few films in the
That would
last
be
week
the low.
that
That
were
would be the low. That would be those fake, those
what I
deep
know, I'm
fakes.
not real sure where the middle is.
The middle could be, what about my vision of Hollywood being, kind of disseminated? Like,
Oh,
so
right.
it could
Sure.
be because Mars is
Because Aries
action,
is very independent as well, is very
right? So it's like
pioneering.
all these producers
Mm-hmm.
and these writers, all
Mm-hmm.
these people coming out of Hollywood and going into YouTube, or I think we're going to have I think we're going to have new social media apps because
Mm-hmm.
Meta's buying everything they can.
Right.
I think, Mark Cuban sounds like he's really pushing blue sky right now because blue
Mm-hmm.
sky is the only thing that's independent out of
Mm-hmm.
everything that we have. I think
Mm-hmm.
we're going to have more social media apps. I wonder if Mars in Neptune could be about social media in some way.
Yeah, I think that would be a big part of that for sure. I think so too. Yeah. Yeah. But the lower end is, I mentioned before on your show, the Christian nationalists would be even more militant, would be feeling more empowered to change laws that keep the separation of church and state in this country, that they've been trying to change some of those laws for a long time, the abortion bans, because Aries is pretty pushy, and they can be pretty pushy and dominating with the Neptune and Aries, I'm thinking.
And then you add that to the nodes, and you've got that Virgo,
Hmm.
systems, institutions,
Hmm.
you know, that kind of thing. And you got Aries, you know what I mean? And both of
Hmm.
those things are the opposite of that Neptune and Pisces,
Right,
because
right.
Neptune and Pisces are so similar. So on one hand, we're going into this expansion, individualistic,
Hmm.
um, and then the Aries and the Virgo are like, no, no,
Hmm.
we need to control this. And the problem with this is that the downside of Neptune and that is going to be the deep fakes. So then we
Yeah.
are going to say, government, please control this, right?
Hmm.
Like it's like TikTok, right? The
Hmm.
government
Hmm.
is saying we need to control this.
Right,
And the people are saying you don't need to control it. We're going to join Red Note. We're going to
right,
do our own thing. We're going to join with the Chinese. So see I hope you guys can see how the planets are flavoring the energy, right? Like we have free
right,
will, but
right,
it's flavoring the flow of the energy, I feel like.
right. The other thing I'm wondering about is when Neptune was in Pisces, the opioid crisis. We had the
Okay,
opioid crisis
right.
because Neptune rules addictions, and Pisces tend to be um, they tend to often struggle with addictions.
Escapist. I feel like
They're very
I feel like they
escapist.
can be
Yeah,
escapist, kind
yeah,
of.
yeah.
And just because you're a Pisces doesn't mean you're an escapist, and just
Nope,
because I'm a
I'm
Virgo
one too.
doesn't
Yeah.
doesn't mean that I'm a detail. You know what I mean? Like there's
Mhm.
high and low,
Yeah, there's the shadow side.
energetic.
Yeah. So I'm just wondering how the Neptune shifting into Aries will work with that. The thing that's happening almost at the same time that Neptune is going into Aries is that Saturn is going to be moving into Aries as well. So now we've got Saturn and Neptune in Aries. This hasn't happened for a very long time. And Saturn gives form to things. And Neptune, of course, is like all over the place. So I'm wondering how those two things are going to come together. I think one of the things that's going to happen with the Saturn and the Neptune next to each other in Aries is some of the things that you were just suggesting about the Saturn giving form to different platforms, the Saturn giving form to individual artists in Hollywood that aren't working for the big studios, that aren't working on big productions, but are still being able to use their craft to create and make a living with those things. I'm wondering if the Saturn in Neptune in Aries has to do with that.
Yeah. And Saturn is also the time, is the chronos, is time, right?
Right.
I don't know why that's standing out to me. Something about time, and then something about Neptune, something about Aries, something about the timing.
Okay,
I
well,
don't know.
Aries is the beginning of the zodiac, so this is all new beginnings. And
Okay.
remember, we talked about on one of your shows that evolution is in a spiral, which I believe is one of the reasons why you have that as your logo, the spiral, is that evolution, we meet the same lessons over and over
Yes,
again,
we do.
but we meet them in a more and more subtle and original and creative kind of way. Well, yeah, I would say, yeah, it's pretty universally true. We've talked about fascism, and we've talked about the souls that keep reincarnating over and over again, trying to learn this lesson about individual freedom versus fascism, so many souls from the civil, and I believe even from the Revolutionary War, the Civil War, World War II, these people, and I'm looking at you, Stephen Miller, have been reincarnated and are still in that same rut of we're up here, you're down here, we're winners, you're losers, and so we're going to do everything we can to keep you in that place. And so I think the Saturn and Neptune and Aries again is another rung on that spiral.
And I think so too. And you know what? I had this, or they kind of added to what you're saying this morning. Not only are they incarnated or reincarnated, we're reincarnated.
Hmm.
So, the light and the dark, you know,
Hmm.
not only the SS officers or the terrible generals or, those people, but the people on the other side that were the light workers.
Hmm.
Both
Yeah,
of us, both
right.
of us are reincarnated right now. And,
Hmm.
you can just imagine somebody like Kamala Harris or Biden or Tim Walz or Pete Buttigieg or AOC. You can
Hmm.
imagine that their past life was probably pitting them against these very
Sure.
same energies, just different meat
Part of
suits.
the resistance in France, part of the Underground
Exactly.
Railroad in the Civil War, one of the
Exactly.
abolitionists. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
One of
Yes.
the spies in the Revolutionary War. We had
Yes.
spies. So, yeah, it's the same battle, everybody. It's the same battle of dark against light, evil against good. And we're just fighting it on a different battlefield.
And like you're saying, that spiral, and I like the way you said that it's subtle. It's a different, you meet the same lesson, even in your own life. Forget
Hmm.
reincarnations, but even in your own life, if you look at your patterns, you can see that, oh, this boss is slightly similar to
Hmm.
my ex-husband or slightly similar to
Exactly.
my dad. And now I can see a little similarity there, a thread. So it's
Hmm.
like that you learn the lesson from this direction, and then they turn it 360 degrees and present it, same lesson. It's just
Right,
presented in a new way. So
right,
it's the
right,
same thing about where we are now, battling these big concepts
right,
of
right.
of,
I don't
of
think there'll be
justice.
bloodshed, but it's still
Not
the
in the same
same.
way, right?
No, it's still the same war.
Same principles, right? It's the same principles. You've got
Yeah.
Elon Musk doing the Nazi
Oh my
salute.
God. Yeah.
And everybody's saying, oh, it was a Roman, some kind of, I mean, come on. See, that's that Neptune. That's that
Yeah,
Neptune in Pisces
yeah,
going, you didn't see that. You saw a
yeah,
Roman salute. It's like,
yeah.
I can't wait for Aries to go, yes, honey, you saw it.
You
That
saw it.
was
We
what you
all
saw.
saw it. Yeah.
Yeah, because Aries is not, they don't have the patience to explain anything to you. They're just going to say, yes, you
No, they
saw it,
don't.
and they're going to be gone. They're not
They're
going to
like,
be
keep up,
listening.
keep up,
Yeah, yeah,
keep
yeah,
up.
yeah. So I don't know. Them in Neptune should be mind bending,
Hmm.
actually.
Yeah, yeah. So,
Interesting, fascinating.
one of the other big things that's happening is Uranus in Gemini. Uranus is moving out of Taurus into Gemini in July.
I
And
feel like this is important.
every time Uranus has been in Gemini, the United States has been engaged in a struggle for democracy.
Darn it. When does that wait? I feel like I like need to write down the time of a show that I need to watch. When does that happen?
That happens the end of July this year.
Uh,
It'll move back and forth. They tend to go back and forth for a year or so until they actually establish themselves in that sign. But the Revolutionary War, the Civil War, World War II, Uranus in Gemini,
when does it go
because the
full
United
time?
States has Uranus in Gemini. So we're having a Uranus return, everybody.
Holy, when does it go full time in Gemini?
All right, let me see.
26?
Probably. Oh
Because
yeah, yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah.
because
There's
that's
some
when
wonderful aspects in 26 and 27.
oh, well, that's good. See,
Yes.
this is what I'm telling you guys. You please understand that just because Uranus is going into Gemini, there could be other aspects that change it so it wobbles like this. It's not straightforward. None of this is literally straightforward because there's a lot of other factors that are going to be coming in to impact it and soften it or make it stronger. So
It goes into Gemini and stays there in April of 2026.
I know the astrologers say that 2026 is when theoretically all hell could break loose. So I wonder if that's what they're talking about.
Well, I would agree with that. Uranus conjunct Uranus is something that happens to us personally. It's something that's going to be happening to the country. And Uranus is clarity out of the blue. And I
I
think you
love
and
the
I,
way you describe it as clarity. Go ahead.
yeah, it's like I've mentioned this to you previously. You've mentioned it on your channel. The action of Uranus is like the lightning bolt. It's in the middle of a storm. You can't see your hand in front of your face. That's how dark it is. And then there's a flash of lightning. That's Uranus. And you can see everything for miles with crystal clear vision. That's what Uranus
For a
is.
second.
Yeah, for an instant and then it's
A
gone.
second. You
Yeah,
can't see it like, so flashes of inspiration, right? Flashes of
right.
inspiration or
Right.
flashes of whatever,
Yeah,
visions, whatever it
clarity. Like,
is.
well, people have been talking on YouTube about the news of the election will eventually come out, and I'm thinking, yeah, probably right around this summer. That
Okay,
Uranus in
this summer because it's going
because
to
of
go
Uranus.
into
Yeah,
Gemini this summer,
I'm thinking.
June,
What do you think
July.
about that timeline?
Yeah.
That
Well,
it's for some reason, divine timing, for some reason, Uranus is going to go into Gemini conjuncting, symbolically conjuncting the Uranus in the United States chart. And that's going to be like, oh my God, everything gets revealed. Everything gets, and again, it could be just for an instant and then it starts to hide again. But I don't, once you see it, you can't unsee it.
right. They're showing me like a spark that lights a grass fire. You know what I mean?
And
Like the spark is instant, it's gone, but then it continues in some way, potentially. Yeah, I think that could be the end of 45. And you're going to talk in a little bit about 45, or I don't know what to call him. I did a video this morning. I haven't posted just yet. I think I'm just going to call him the asshole.
With a capital A.
I mean, I don't know. I don't have a name for him yet. And right now, that just might be the name. I don't know how YouTube is going to feel about that, but that's what it is. Anyway, so yeah, so Uranus is going to go into Gemini. It's going to kind of go in, light up, and then come back out, go in, light up, and then come back out. And then it moves all the way in permanently next year.
Right.
So you guys understand what we're saying. It kind of like, to me, unfortunately, in my understanding, it's like the bus ran you over and it felt something, and then it backed up to see what it felt, what it ran over, and it runs over you again. No, it's not that bad, but it is sort of like this kind of pulling you in, and then, oh no, not yet, and then pulling you in, and then, oh no, not yet.
Right. It gives you a chance to like take a breath and go, oh, what was that?
What just happened?
What just happened? What do I need to do about it? So, and also Gemini has to do with communications. And I'm thinking that hopefully this has something to do with the media not sane washing Trump and his cronies, acting like this is normal.
I think we're going to have new media.
Yeah.
And that goes back to that we were talking about earlier with Neptune and Pisces and Aries. I don't know that the media's, I hope I'm wrong. I just don't know if I see the mainstream media doing that. But I've seen Hollywood dissolving. I've seen media dissolving. I talked about it all last year. And look what we have. We have so many new news people on YouTube and on all the apps. And I think that as people, maybe what it means is people will pay attention to independent media and have those glimpses of truth.
Right. Because Uranus has nothing to do with the status quo. Uranus is all about eccentricity, uniqueness, creativity, originality. It has nothing to do with major networks.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And that dovetails into Pluto going into Aquarius, which is power to the people.
So now we've got these two huge planets that govern masses of people in a very favorable aspect to each other. Pluto is, they will be what we call in astrology a trine, which is pushing powerful positive energy into between 2 or 3 planets with positive results. Uranus is again breaking away, becoming more authentic, and Pluto is mass consciousness, masses of people. So getting the message out and people wanting that message. They want that message. They're ready for that message.
They want the truth. I just heard they want to know what the real truth is.
Yes.
And then you have that glimpse, that lightning strike of, oh my God, all along, I believe this, and now I know it's this. That's that kind of clarity, crystallizing of people's thoughts that you're talking about.
And if we think about the life of the country the same way we think about our own lives. So we have an arc in our life, right? We have patterns that we were born with, that we've struggled with, and hopefully that we've had some kind of mastery over. But it takes time. And divine timing happens when certain events will happen in your life. And this is what's happening in the United States. I think this divine timing in the summer of this year with the Uranus and the Pluto is the MAGAs will be ready to see something new, because under the assholes' policies, they're going to be suffering.
You don't have to call him that. Yeah, exactly. That's what I came to my realization this morning, is that
to bring all of us together. How else could they bring all of us together?
But with him.
Right. Right.
Because we talked about this before we started filming. We probably should have been filming it, but we talked about what is his purpose, right? And his purpose is to do that, is to bring us together, because he locked him out. He locked him out in the cold, like really and physically, literally
and symbolically. Yeah.
locked him out in the cold. And that, okay, so maybe they'll forgive him. But I think it's going to get to a point where their medications are going to go up, their food cost is going to go up, gasoline's going to go up, and then they're going to say housing. I mean, everything is just, he's just going to wreck everything because that's what he does. He's a destroyer. He literally is just, all he knows how to do is destroy things. So that's what's going to put all of us in the street together.
Exactly. And when you think of it that way, when we think of it that way, when your viewers think of it that way, I know in November when I was on your show and I talked about why I thought maybe the election fell out the way it fell out, there were quite a few comments from angry people going, well, why should I suffer? Why am I suffering along with these people? And I thought, well, first of all, there is something called group karma, but second of all, then I thought about the arc. If the whole point is for all of us to come together to save the democracy because it's divine timing for us to do it again, how else can that happen with these people that are so isolated and so caught up in their own bubble that the only thing that's going to pierce the bubble to get them to see the truth and be on the side of the rest of us is that they have to suffer, which means
pain.
It's pain. Yeah.
It's pain. But I honestly don't think we're going to suffer as much as they are. For one reason,
we won't be
see it
disillusioned.
coming.
Yeah.
We know, we know what's coming, so we can prepare as much as we can. You know, none of us are going to go out and make super huge purchases or do anything extravagant, but they are, because they think their king has been crowned. So they're going to go out there and really live it up, and they're going to get caught in that vice of not having the money, not having the job. And one of the things, and I bet this is astrological too, because everything is, but you know, the whole thing about Elon Musk saying, or Vivek saying, we need these H-1B or whatever they are visas.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you know, guess what? You know, right now you've got people, the MAGAs are mad because their kids can't get into college because their grades aren't good enough, because all these people come in from other countries that, you know, once you call that, we only get the best and brightest around the world, right? Well, it's going to be hard for just a regular old American to stand up.
Who's gone through the public school system in this country.
Right, which they keep making us dumber. Yeah. But wait until this guy goes, well, we're going to fire all of these American engineers because I can hire a whole bunch of visa engineers for half the price.
And they're stuck. They can't go look for another job. They can't demand better working conditions or a raise, because if they do, they're back in their old country.
They're gone.
And that's why they want these guys.
That's why they want them, because they're like, oh, you got a diagnosis, you're fired. Oh, you're not ready. You don't want to work 7 days a week, you're fired. So they have to put up with this stuff. Plus, even if they're making 50% of what an American is, they're making 100% more than they would in their country. Right. And but here's the thing, that's going to be one of those pain points, because when these MAGAs, when they lose their jobs, when their kids lose their jobs to immigrants, they're going to be in the street. And I got to tell you, these people, we know they're violent, you know, they're armed. So this is not going to end well. This is not going to end well for them. And then you have all that Aries energy. And I feel like, isn't Mars doing something? And that's also
Mars went retrograde. It doesn't happen very often. It happens less often with Mars than any of the other planets for it to change direction. And Mars, of course, is anger and irritation and impatience. And it's been going back and forth from Cancer to Leo to Cancer to Leo to Cancer to Leo. And Cancer is very, very sensitive and very, very touchy.
And it's home.
And it's
protection of your home.
protection of your home and family, and
And
it's in
Leo is
Cancer
what?
now. And Leo is your ego, it's your pride.
So then on one hand, you have like this Trumpian figure of Mars and Leo.
Mhm.
And then on the other hand, you have Mars in the home of the United States.
Mhm.
And Mars is also, I think, martial, like as in martial law.
Right,
So you
exactly.
have all these things setting up. I hope you guys can understand that what we're talking about here is not Trump being a dictator. He's not getting the keys to the castle because the people were, all of these things are a lot about the people learning to stand up to the bully, the people being angry because of Mars. And, you know, it's all these things about the people being activated.
Right, right. Yeah, because that's what Mars does. Mars triggers things. Mars makes things happen.
And Aries is a sign that makes things happen.
Aries is very proactive. Aries is all about let's do it. Let's do it right now. Yeah, yeah.
And there's that timing element, right now. So,
Mhm.
which is Saturn. So anyway, this, hopefully this is all making sense to you guys. Where do you want to go from here?
Um, I have too many notes. Oh, we could look at Trump's chart.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Because not only is it this is not a word, you guys. Marshalizing is not a word. Marshaling, it's my fault.
Marshalling. Yeah,
Marshaling, not only is it marshaling the forces of the humans, but his chart is particularly horrible for him.
it's, and we've been saying this for the last year. I told good friends, I've said this on your channel, that, I didn't think he'd run. I didn't think he'd win. I thought his health would go downhill. And what we've seen is the health go downhill, but universe was not done with him. So we're still with him. He's still with us. But guess what? We're here too. He's here, but we're here too. So what's going on with him health wise is last year it started, and we all know about Pluto going into Aquarius last year. When it went into Aquarius last year, it entered his sixth house in his chart. The sixth house in our charts has to do with our health and our work, the work of the career, but definitely our health. Pluto running into somebody's sixth house could mean a number of things, but for somebody his age and his history of abuse to his body, that meant that things were going to start going downhill. That Pluto was like a slow burn, and it was just going to burn away whatever was left of his health, physical health. So it went into the sixth house last year, backed off into Capricorn. We all know about that. Then went back into Aquarius for the Aquarian age in January. So now it's solidly in his sixth house. And so the glimpses that we saw last year of his physical decline, his cognitive decline, it's now moving forward. It's front and center. Now we can all see it. I mean, I don't know how Magus can't see it, but it's like every time he opens his mouth, it's definitely apparent that he's got major cognitive decline. And he doesn't look well. So that's going on. Um, the the aspect of the Mars in Cancer and Leo going back and forth over his Cancer planets. It's activating the Mercury and the Saturn and the Venus, which has a lot to do with Saturn is constriction. Mercury is how we communicate. He's not communicating coherently. Venus is his money. So he lost a lot of money. Now he's getting a lot of money. So we've got that movement of loss and gain of millions and millions and millions of dollars. And then it's going to be the Pluto is going to be opposed. His Pluto, that's usually a sign of loss of some kind that is gone forever. Now, whether we have that in our personal chart, it might be, a parent that we've lost, or a job that we've lost, or a pet that we've lost, but something that is gone forever. And his ability to rule, to govern, to decide things. I mean, why else did the Republican Party prop him up? They knew this was going to be temporary. They
Yeah,
knew,
Vance. They
yeah,
wanted Vance, and
they
they
wanted
knew,
Vance.
and he's the magic guy, for the moment, anyway.
Yeah, but the eclipses that we have in March, now when the nodes have shifted from Aries to Libra to Virgo and Pisces, that means it's going to affect all the eclipses in 2025. So the eclipses for him are pretty intense, and they start the first week in March all the way to the end of March. So I'm thinking that, along with the Mars energy, with the Pluto energy, when you want to see something that's a major event in someone's life, you have to look for it in at least three places. It has to show up in at least three places. I think the Bible says things are thrice
Yeah,
compounded. Yeah.
yeah.
So he's got 3, 4, 5 aspects in March where, I mean, some astrologers are talking about an assassination attempt, but there's a major health event happening for him in March that cannot be covered up.
Mm.
He is not going to he's not going to be able to do very much after that at all. I don't know if you get any timelines for him.
I've always gotten March. I've been getting March
Okay.
for months and months and months. And also there's every March, for some reason, around him anyway, there's always energy, bad energy for him around the Ides of March.
Oh, geez. Okay. Was he Julius Caesar?
Exactly. At two, Brutus, at two. I
Yeah.
keep getting that every single March. I get that. So this could be the final version. This could be the final
Wow.
one that
Yeah.
he gets betrayed, because I feel like he's going to be betrayed.
Oh,
But I don't think, the question is really is, will we have had enough of our lesson by then? Did we get
oh,
enough? Was
I
he
don't think so. I
so
don't think
the
so. But I don't think they need him anymore. Now that he's president, they're not going to need him anymore because Vance is going to put all those things into the works. He's going to put Project 2025 into the works, and
he's worse than Trump? I'm telling you guys right
way
now, he's
worse.
worse.
I looked at that man's chart. Oh my God.
He
Yeah.
is he is evil person.
He's a
I don't
very
even know
dark
what to
force.
say about him. The one of the last things I did a video on him was I saw him having a chip put in, like one of those Neuralink chips,
Oh,
so
really?
they could like joystick control him. You know
Uh-huh.
what I mean? Like,
Wow.
but I swear his eyes are like they light up like a robot's eyes. Like
Yeah,
they just
yeah. And
like go
he's
ding.
very, very singularly focused. He's just got, he doesn't see anything that he doesn't want to see. It doesn't matter how many times you want to talk to him about it or rationalize with him about it or show him something. If it's not coming from in here, he doesn't believe it.
Right. Yeah.
It's his own opinion. It's the only thing that counts. So I think, yeah, it might be time for Donald to be unalive because the universe is done with him.
March to June, like those months right there have the most energy for him to either or to be put in a home.
Right.
I
It
mean,
could be a
that's
major health event that doesn't kill him, but he's just
incapacitated. Like I always
incapacitated.
saw him and I wonder in his chart, I always saw him not being able to talk.
Hmm.
Like he
Yes.
still has some of his mental
Yeah.
faculties, but he
But he
can't
can't
talk, which would be a
communicate.
particularly ugly karmic lesson for him.
Yeah.
To be
Yeah.
so frustrated, I can't talk. Can you
Yeah.
imagine his anger? Like, so I wonder in his chart somewhere if he has something
Well,
like
yeah.
that.
His sun is in Gemini, and Gemini rules communication,
Oh, right. There you
right?
go. And
His
I
moon
wonder if
is in
something is opposing his sun,
And
like,
yes, and his moon is in Sag, which is also a very talkative sign. Sag is very talkative. It can be very opinionated, and like its own opinions. But both of those signs are, for two signs that are opposite each other, those two are the more closely aligned than any two opposite signs. Those two are really kind of,
Gemini and Sag.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, and the eclipse hits right pushing on both ends of that little teeter-totter of his.
Let's talk about the eclipses really quickly, and then we'll wrap it
Okay.
up, because I think we're probably close to an hour.
Yeah.
But what's going on with the eclipses?
Okay, so there's a lunar eclipse. I think it's March, the first week in March in 23 degrees Virgo. His second house is 22 degrees Virgo, so it's going to be just over the edge into his second house. So this is something that's happened to him before. This is a past life thing, because I look at the second house as our memory track. A lot of astrologers do not. It's it's classically the house of our wealth and our values, but isn't all we've learned in other lifetimes part of our values, part of something that is our wealth? So this eclipse is right over the edge into his second house, which I think is something that's happened to him before, the Ides of March. And
Could be
it's
E. Jean Carroll with the money coming back around.
yeah, it could be that. And it's pushing, it's in what we call a square to the sun and the moon opposition that he has. So that forms what we call a T square. A T square is like a three-legged chair. And what you're trying to do is sit on a three-legged chair in that time in your life, and you know how unsettling and frustrating that can be. So the antidote is to build into the eighth house, which would be the fourth leg of his chair, but he's not going to build a fourth leg of his chair. So that that energy is just going to manifest. And yeah, his digestive system, because Virgo is digestion, and the Gemini is his throat, communication, and lungs. The Sagittarius is liver stuff and blood stuff. I mean, it's a perfect storm. It's a perfect storm.
Now, even though Vance is worse, because we're talking about potentially, right? We're talking about
Mm-hmm.
45 exiting stage, right? Even though Vance is worse, why I say he's worse is because he's going to be not so bombastic. He's going to give the appearance.
Oh, he's slick. Yeah.
He's slick. He's going to give the appearance of, this is why my opinion is best, and this, don't worry, I've got it, which goes back to that whole Pisces Virgo thing. The Virgo is like, I got it. I know what's going on. It's going to be fine. But we're really trying to go to Pisces, which is, you're not going to tell me what to do.
Right.
You can't put water in a box. It doesn't work, right? I'm just going to.
I think this is part of the thing you were talking on one of your recent videos where you talked about Americans wanting a father figure to take over. And
Yes.
And that's, he's a younger man, but he's basically gonna present himself as I'm in
Yes.
charge, I know what I'm doing.
Yes.
And because he's got the gift of gab, he's a great communicator.
Yes. He's a good
I was
orator.
surprised when I watched the vice presidential
Yes.
debate. I was like,
he
wait a
did.
minute.
He did very well, but you don't get to the heights that he's gotten without being able to speak well, right? Like, I mean, you don't go to those kinds of schools. I think they just
Right.
polished him up, Yeah, so that is interesting. So that's the first eclipse.
Yeah, that's the first
Might
one.
take out 45.
Right.
Daily.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, you guys, if you're interested you can see how she breaks it down. Like, this is what I'm talking about. I really appreciate astrologers like Karin that break it down, that make it make sense. And something she said that I think is super important is she said the remedy of this is to build in the eighth house. Some people just say, you're going to go through this, you're going to go through that, this is going to happen to you, this is going to happen. I love it when people say, this is the energy, but this is how you fix it. Right? So find you an astrologer like Karin that tells you, this is how you can fix this, right? This is how you can avoid it or whatever. I've had several readings from her. She's absolutely worth all of the applause, all of the accolades. So think about getting a reading with her. She's got some openings. She's usually booked up like months and months and months and months in advance, but because of the holidays, she took some time off. So now She's actually got some openings
Yep.
in February and March. So she won't after this video, so act quickly. But you can check her out. I'll leave all the information down below. Thanks so much for watching. Let us know what you think in the comments. We'd love to hear your comments. And we'll see you again soon sometime.
Yeah.
Take care, everybody.
Thank you.